against a Stanford team that's beatable, very beatable, similar to Syracuse, but you build that momentum. And Da'Norris knows all about momentum. I mean, it's a real thing at Da'Norris. When you have an opportunity to have success after not having success, you like the taste of it.
Absolutely.
And you want to feel it again.
It fuels you. It fuels you like a mug, man. Like I was extremely happy to see them go out and execute like they did against Syracuse. It just shows that the locker room is finally pulling together. I noticed like early in the year I was reading like we had 70 new players, and that's pretty tough. I mean, yeah, you could go through spring, you could go through summer, but once you get into that fire, then you know who you could trust and who you could depend on out there on the field. So we had to go through our growing pains. Some games we had good because we had better players than other teams. We out executed them, but when we came across teams that had like familiarity with each other, like it showed, and we got beat pretty badly. But last week showed that like our team is finally coming together. Guys are trusting each other more, communicating more, and it just shows improvement in the team.
Search, one of the things that we've talked about through these shows so far this year is that North Carolina, since they don't have a decided talent advantage at any major positions, really, how important it would be for them to play complementary football.
Absolutely.
I saw a team last week against Syracuse that played complementary football, and I even want to work some patience into that because, as we saw in the first half, Syracuse couldn't throw a cat out the house and then somehow found a way to be leading at halftime. And you saw a North Carolina team come back out in the second half and they weren't gripping, they weren't pressing, they weren't getting ahead of themselves. They just continued to work, and eventually that execution that you talk about rose above what was a lesser talented and lesser gifted Syracuse team. So,
absolutely,
can you speak to how important it is to be able to play complementary football in situations where you might not necessarily be far and above more talented than your opponent?
Yeah, it's three phases of the game. You got offense, defense, special teams. Guys are able to work together to come to a common goal. Like, we was down at halftime, but guys went into the locker room. There was no panic. They trusted the process, and they came out and was able to execute. That just shows the growth of the team because they may not have been able to do that early in the year. There's been times where they went into halftime trailing by even more, and then they was never able to make up the ground. Like the opposing team may not have scored as many points in the second half, but still it was a lot of gray area. And I just believe like now, like guys are trusting each other more since they've been in the fire together. Players, we call it the fire when you're on the field, and it's easy to understand it when you're in the classroom, but once you get out there on the field and the bullets are flying and guys are running full speed, communication has to be key. So I just believe guys are finally pulling together and starting to trust each other more.
Spencer, I want to ask you, when you were around the squad this week, can you quantify how important it was for them to finally get a win the way that they've been prepping for a win, in a sense that complementary, trusting the process, executing properly? Could you sense, I don't want to say a feeling of relief, but could you sense something intangible around the locker room and around the Keenan Football Center after they put that together?
Yeah, for sure. I 100% would. I think Tommy, correct me if I'm wrong, the two guys we got on Tuesday, we had Blasky and then we had Kamori House. And I think, everyone that Carolina has stuck up there to talk to the media this year has been pretty, I would say, composed and not a lot of emotion to be shown. But I would say on Tuesday, Kamori House showed us, more happiness and joy and emotion and kind of personality than anyone's kind of gotten up there and done so far this year. Austin Blasky got up there and talked about, business as usual. I'm in the business of winning games and just doing the work, talking about the process of, grinding, stacking days, getting better, getting a little bit better every single day. But then it was refreshing to hear Kamori come up there and, hear the leader of the defense, the leading tackler, talk about, how great it was to get a win. Because this team we've seen has been, so close. They've been a combined 2 or 3 feet away from having a winning record.
Literally.
It's been a difference of 2 plays and maybe a total yard. So, just the relief of, finally getting over the hump and, trusting the process and staying the course to get that conference win. Like you can really tell that spirits are lifted, and it's good to see the process showing.
Yeah, I think to Spencer's point, Kamori House was happy. I mean, he was smiling a lot, and he's a coach speak guy, but you could see it coming through. The joy from winning. And Searcy, you can speak to this. I don't think people understand what football players any college athlete, any athlete period, go through though off the 60 minutes on Saturday.
Oh, absolutely.
There's so much going on here. These guys, we talk about how, he's not trying, he doesn't care and all that. You don't go through what you go through as a college football player and deal with what you deal with, whether it's playing hurt, whether it's going to practice when you don't want to, whether it's doing
going
this,
to classes,
doing that.
absolutely.
And everything involved. And so, Searcy, when you get a win, no matter how that win happens, especially, though, after you lose two that you had in your hands,
absolutely.
I mean, the joy from that is a big deal.
It's a big relief for sure, man. Like, because it gives you confidence, like, through the hardships you went through, you finally pulled it off as a team, and especially when it's a team effort. That's a no greater feeling because everybody contributed, everybody pulled their weight, everybody played their role, and that's the main thing. And when you're able to come out with a win after you've been struggling, getting 2 losses, is that, man, it's great. And then now you take the win going into homecoming, you just want to be able to build off that momentum for sure.
So we've got an atmosphere today that I think, we talked a few minutes ago about how different this is than it was a month ago, which was different than it was a month prior to that. You've got an atmosphere today where maybe the fan base is starting to climb back on the bandwagon. I know it's just one win, but it does seem like, if nothing else, all of the salt that was in the air has subsided a little bit. You've got a chance today to beat a Stanford team that I think, like Syracuse, North Carolina is better than. Statistically would bear that out, even offensively. Stanford's the only team worse than North Carolina in offensive statistics in the ACC, which blows my mind.
Right.
But you've got an atmosphere today to continue to build and bring people back into the fold. Spencer, is it important, do you think, for this team to have that support from the fans, or have they completely walled that off and just decided, all right, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do what we can do inside of this building.
Right.
And on the field. And if people come along, great. Do you think it matters to them?
Well, I think Da'Norris can probably speak to this better than I can because, Da'Norris played the games in Keenan Stadium. But, I mean, in any sport, it's easier to go out and play in front of a crowd that, can give you energy and give you juice than it is to go out and play in an empty 50,000-seat stadium. But to your point, I definitely agree that, Carolina, they're clearly far from, world beaters on just as a team in general. But I think that the fans seeing, they're back to competing. At the beginning of the season, they were getting rolled over by some not so great, Power 4 teams like UCF. But, the fact that, they're competing and they're fighting and they're so close in these recent games, I definitely think it's bringing the fans back to Keenan Stadium. And I also think, it just speaks to just the atmosphere of this specific weekend in general with the basketball game last night. It's a great weekend to be in Chapel Hill.
That
didn't hurt. Absolutely.
Sir, how much does it matter to you? How much does it matter to you? Because you've played at times where the team wasn't great, and you've played some times where the team was real good.
Absolutely.
How much does it matter to the guys that are in that locker room coming out of that tunnel?
It comes with the camaraderie and the chemistry that you build with guys. I've reverted back again to knowing the fact that we have 70 new players, so guys ain't really played against each other. Either they're transferring in from other universities where they've gone accustomed to the guys they've been playing with. Then you got incoming freshmen that are leaving their high schools, coming into an environment where now they got to trust somebody they don't know. Everybody's on the roster pretty much been the guy at their school at one point. So egos got to drop. You got to be able to rely on the guy next to you. You got to be able to win your 111. And it's easy to do it when it's in spring because everybody's learning. It's easy to do it in the fall because you're prepping for a game. But now you can't slow it down you can't slow it down in the game like you do it in practice. Like, even if they mess up, they could run it back and slow it down and get the communications right, and they could be able to rely on each other. But when it comes full speed in the game, it's a whole different ball game because now you're trying to win. You're going against guys who's trying to take your head off, trying to embarrass you, score touchdowns and things of that nature. So it comes over time, and I believe fans are starting to see that that's what's happening. The guys are starting to believe in each other, starting to play better together. It started with Virginia. Even though we lost the Virginia game, the defense played excellent, and then they turned it into a win against Syracuse. Now it's just time for everybody to start clicking and just realizing we all on the same goal and just trying to get a win and trying to improve the program.
Tommy, I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention how similar these two programs are right now. Stanford, new coach, trying to take kind of more of an NFL approach to things with with Andrew Luck as their GM and bringing in Frank Reich as the coach. They're doing some things similar to what I think North Carolina's trying to do with this pro style thing. I think it's probably harder for Stanford because I don't know that they're going to be. They're not going to be as talented as North Carolina is, and we've bagged on North Carolina's talent level this year. But I still think North Carolina is probably a little more talented than Stanford is. Is that enough to get by in a game like today, or is it the same old adage of Stanford gets scholarships too? How do you see this game from a 30,000 foot view lining up?
Well, I think for North Carolina, and you guys, I hope would agree, is North Carolina's not good enough just to say we're going to out-talent anybody, and that's – you mentioned the basketball game, Spencer. You see when you have your best player playing the hardest. You see what that does. So the football is the same way, right? And you've got to have your guys, the most talented guys on the roster, playing the hardest that they possibly can.
If he's here, he's back and forth.
And then you go from there. Right. This North Carolina team needs to play well, needs to play solid, needs to play complementary football like we talked about. And shout out to the Bowls Lot crowd. It is much better than it has been. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, this place was dead.
Homecoming.
You could have launched a grenade before Clemson and not hit anybody.
Right. And you look at Spencer rolls up and parks like literally on the curb. Like Vip used to.
He went full Vip. I was going to say that. Well done.
But I mean, for this North Carolina team, the key is doing it again. Yeah. We saw what they could do against a team they should beat. Okay, great. They got to win. They should have beat Virginia. They should have beat Cal. Those are gone. They did it against Syracuse. Now let's do it again for this North Carolina team. And I think for me watching, and I've talked about proof of concept a lot on the podcast we do, Belichick and his staff can talk all the stuff they want to talk about. This is the way to do it. This is the right way to do it. But if you're 18 to 22 or 23 years old, and I do everything you say and then I lose,
that's hard to buy into.
It's hard. Super Bowl rings are cool and all, but if we're getting our ass handed to us, it doesn't really translate.
Yeah, losing sucks.
Searcy's kind of got some current experience with that too. You're coaching high school right now.
Right.
Tell us, how do you get players when you're not having a good season results-wise? How do you get a bunch of kids to stay locked in with you, especially with the new staff here?
You point out the fact that they're getting better, especially if guys are getting better each game. Like you say, you may have a few guys that not really haven't played as much, so the confidence is just starting to grow and build on them. But you always compliment them on the good things they do. Like, even though you get on them about the things they messed up on, when they do something good, make sure you compliment them. Just always encourage them to keep working. Like, Rome wasn't built overnight. Like, a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame didn't even play football until they got into high school. So it's a process. So long as you trust the process, you'll be good.
Let me ask you this, Serge, though. Yeah, you compliment them. You tell them you're improving. How do I know I'm improving if I still lose?
Let the losers worry about losing.
You point out the good plays to them. them.
Yeah, coach. I did that well.
Things they did good, but it's still they're showing that they're growing. Especially, like, again, if it's guys that never really played before, they don't really know the game, so they're learning. Like, yeah, you may feel down, but you gotta turn the negative into a positive. Look at all the good things you did. Look at this play. Look at that play. You know what I'm saying? So, we lost, but if I work on this more, maybe my efforts in the next game will get us a win. So you got to keep them encouraged.
And that is the key to coaching, right? The key to coaching is make people believe, even if they're not seeing the results, that they will eventually see the results when it comes. And Spencer, that's the thing that, as we've watched this program since December the 11th, you wonder, was there that going on? Because Belichick's not a rah-rah guy. Right. Belichick's not going to, you don't have all the hype and all that stuff going on. But this team has improved, and we've seen it on the field. So they've done a good job behind the scenes, especially showing this team continue to, I hate the chop wood thing. They always talk about that. It reminds me of some old bad football. But, Spencer,
gotta keep chopping wood.
But Spencer, they've had the ability to keep this team together. I think that's something we probably need to talk about more. Is after that Clemson game and all the chaos that happened that week,
right?
They could have lost this team.
They could have gone completely off a cliff.
And it's a credit to the program. It's a credit to the coaches. It's a credit to the players, Spencer, and we've seen that sort of,
Absolutely.
on the field, playing hard, playing tough. I think
Players control the locker room.
There you go, and then it's a positive.
And I definitely think it is a testament to the coaching staff. We obviously can't see what happens behind closed doors. I mean, we hear things, but we're not inside the facility. We don't know what's happening. And I mean, it's really starting to come to light now with all the discussion about these Sunday night football games that we're hearing about in all the press conferences, and how the 10 or 20 guys that aren't getting to play in games.
Won't you get us some scoop from that?
Right. Lord,
let's go.
If
man.
I had it, I would. I mean, I grew up a hockey player, so obviously everybody.
You've got the lettuce to prove it.
Everybody on a hockey team doesn't get to dress in every game. You got 3 or 4 guys that sit out in the press box every game, so it's really hard to to have to sit up and watch your teammates play while you're standing and you're sitting out because coach doesn't think you're good enough to play in that game. But from what we're hearing from Garrick McGee on Thursday was as transparent as anyone has been about it so far. Despite Belichick, Adam asked, what is this Sunday Night Football? And Bill pretended that he didn't know what we were talking about. What is this Sunday Night Football you're speaking of? But
Commanders against the Packers.
Yeah,
right.
But McGee and Pesor also was extremely transparent about it's the guys that don't get to normally play on Saturdays. They get the chance to suit up and get out there and get live speed game reps, and it's where you see guys like Madrid Tucker, Shinar Connor, and Damon June come from. Guys that are contributing on this UNC team are coming out of those Sunday night games. That's how they get the coaching staff's attention.
Right.
And even all those guys are still getting, they said, to meet with Belichick and meet with their position coaches for an hour, throughout the week and hear what they could be individually doing, to get better. So
to help the team out.
I mean, you can definitely see that, it's a testament to the coaching staff, making sure everybody stays bought in and locked in.
So we're going to get back to that. I want to put a pin in that Damon June talk because there's a lot of meat on that bone. Coming up next, we'll dig into what changed and what this team finally started doing right and how they can keep it going today against Stanford. You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
This is Zach Penalco, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live.
When you choose Pirelli, you're not just buying tires. You're investing in Italian engineering built for precision, performance, and safety. And now Chapel Hill Tire will install your set of Pirelli tires for free. That's expert installation, no extra charge. Drive with confidence, knowing your car is equipped with the tires trusted by luxury and performance drivers around the world. Chapel Hill Tire, where premium tires come with premium care. Stop by your nearest Chapel Hill Tire or visit chapelhilltire.com and drive happy, Chapel Hill.
Hi, this is Ely from Alma's Jewelers. The flooding in Eastgate forced us to adjust, but I'm so happy to say we are back right here in our original Eastgate Crossing location. Our showroom is refreshed, sparkling, and ready to welcome you. Whether you're celebrating a milestone, shopping for something special, or just want to stop by and say hello, we are here. Thank you for supporting us throughout it all. Alma's Jewelers, proud to be part of this community, now open in Eastgate Crossing.
For over 2 decades, there's been no better place online for the Tar Heel sports community than Inside Carolina. Now with the On3 network, you can still find us at InsideCarolina.com, but you will need to reactivate your subscription, and you can do so today for $1. Access in-depth daily content by joining the best community for Tar Heel sports around. The Tar Heels are your hometown team, and Inside Carolina is your hometown site for Tar Heel sports.
Sundays are bigger at Town Hall Grill. Kick off your day with the best brunch in town, then catch every NFL game on the big screens with the sound on. Bring the family, enjoy great food and ice-cold drinks, and be part of a local spot that proudly supports autism awareness in our community. Town Hall Grill at Southern Village, where brunch meets football, and every Sunday feels like game day. Let's go Tar Heels.
Rams Corner on 431 West Franklin has wall-to-wall screens, so you never miss a play. Daily specials on food and drinks, local spirits with a Chapel Hill twist. A space for everyone, students, alumni, locals, and visitors. Enjoy more than good food, good drinks. Create memories from last-minute victories to late-night laughs, where the community comes together and where every day feels like game day. Come for the food, stay for the energy, and leave as part of the Rams Corner family. 431 West Franklin Street.
I'm Jeremy Salemson with CIMG Residential Mortgage. At CIMG, we are so proud to be your local mortgage experts. At CIMG, we loan our own money, approve loans locally, and stay connected with our customers throughout the process. In short, we humanize the lending experience. Learn more at CIMGINC.com. CIMG, lending on a first name basis. NMLS number 39460.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Inside Carolina Live, homecoming Saturday. Beautiful fall day in King Stadium. Tommy just asked me if I'd rather have him on this segment or Grace Newton on the segment, and I can't believe he even asked. But we will let Tommy stick around for a second, just because he's got seniority, and he uses his right and left turn signal indicators. So we're gonna let him stay on the show for a little bit. Searce went and picked up a little Bojangles chicken action. Spencer actually just.
What are you doing to the biscuit?
I don't know. This is absolute sacrilege what he's doing. Like, you doing communion with this biscuit right now, sirs?
Hey, man, yeah, I'm breaking it.
Inside Carolina Live, Tar Heels kicking off today at 4:30 on the CW right after Gilmore Girls. I'm not sure which episode it is, but I can say it is going to be riveting television to switch from Gilmore Girls to Tar Heel football.
Just so folks know, recognize when somebody tells you who they are, believe them. Joey is a Gilmore Girls lady.
Lady?
I mean, Gilmore
I'm
Girls.
a lady?
Yeah, Gilmore Girls.
Really?
Are you watching the Gilmore Girls?
It's a joke, Thomas. We do that on the air once in a while. Speaking of jokes, we have finally gotten this team, I think, out of the doldrums. We knew that the back half of the schedule was going to be easier. And if they could find a way to get through the first half, that there would be some possibility to have success overall if they can make it through. Well, they did not necessarily make it through the first half unscathed, but but the schedule is still easier in the back half, and that'll start today against or continue today against Stanford. We mentioned Damon June in the last segment, and the fact that this staff has found some younger guys that seem to be game changers. I don't want to consider what this offense would be without Damon June right now, but you finally got a rhythm showing up for this team where you got the short passing game and the running game clicking against Syracuse's pressure last week. Stanford is not going to absolutely be the 86 Bears either. Sirs, I'd like you to comment and let us know what it means for a defense once you see an offense finally showing some signs of life.
It's good on our end. We like to see the guys on offense, because those are our teammates. We like to see them do good. And then, especially when both sides are clicking, like either we're getting the ball back to them, whether it be a punt return or creating turnovers, and they get to go out there and shine and score touchdowns and put points on the board is always amazing. That just shows we're both sides of the ball are working together. And it's just a great thing when you see your teammates starting to find success and being successful against other teams.
Tommy, you've seen this North Carolina team be absolutely 100% inept. Right now, they've started to look like maybe they've figured out an identity a little bit.
Yep.
Do you think it's guys figuring out what their job is? And we're going to talk a little bit more with Staples about this in the next segment. Is it guys figuring out their job? Is it confidence? Is it things becoming easier for them? Is it all of the above? What do you attribute this semblance of an offense to?
I think Austin Blasky getting back to center is huge.
How big was that?
Right.
And they didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it happens, and shout out Chad Lindbergh for, being a trooper and doing everything he can. But, he gets hurt, he goes down, Blasky goes to center, and things change. And I think what is interesting is how much a half second makes a difference for a quarterback, and that's snaps and all that.
Is that his normal position?
Mm-hmm. He did last year.
Yes.
So what they did is they moved Blasky to tackle, because Blasky at tackle was better than anybody on the roster at left tackle. and Lindbergh was good enough at center to let them be able to do that.
Gotcha.
Well, Lindbergh goes down, Jordan Hall steps up, Blasky goes from tackle to guard to center, and the offense appears competent.
Also, shout out to Jordan Hall because that was a refreshing addition last week too. Spencer, did you have him on your bingo card as somebody getting decent playing time in the offensive line too deep this year?
As I was sitting on my couch on Halloween night, just preparing for what I was about to witness on. As I was trying to figure out how I was going to watch the Tar Heels take on the Syracuse Orange, I cannot say that UAB transfer, correct? If I'm not mistaken, Jordan Hall would be seeing significant snaps at left tackle Friday night in the Carrier Dome. But I mean,
he acquitted himself well.
Yeah, with this Carolina team, I mean, we've all season long, it's been guys, that you have to double check the roster. Like, who is that?
Right.
That's been impressing, and from Damon June to Madrid.
But see, I reverted it back to like 70 new guys on the team. Like they had to build that camaraderie together. Like,
well, it's still talent identification too.
Yeah,
you got to sort through the bodies.
Like the offensive line, you got guys going through the spring. They playing with different people. They trying to see which combinations work together, get for the best scheme possible. And now you got guys that are they're playing together long enough to where they trust the guy next to them. Like, what I'm saying? I learned that Trayvon Green, he left the team, so he was a guy that played a lot. So it's just rebuilding that trust, and then I just figure it just seems that they're finding it and they're believing in each other with the I don't know what they call it, like how you move the cups. So you
pieces to the puzzle,
right. So you're moving the cups around so you get the best possible option, and get the win. So that's what they've been doing. It seems like they found it.
I guess it's called moving the cups.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know
I hope that's
for
what
it.
it is. Me either. But it just seems like now they're clicking because they've played together long enough. It seems as though they found the right combination to get the job done.
And had the Cards not fallen the way they did, the coaching staff may not have stumbled upon this combination on purpose. I mean, it seems to be on accident. You've got two tackles that lead the team, and Trayvon Green and William Boone. That's two tackles that were on your two deep in camp.
Inexperienced,
right? You've got your starting center go down,
that's why I brought up Green.
Presumably for the season, and then all of a sudden you're forced to play these guys that you otherwise wouldn't really think about playing.
Right.
And then they go out there, and we'll see at 4:00. Okay, maybe this can work. Maybe this combination can play.
But also, it speaks to the guys, right? It speaks to being ready, whether or not you're sitting on your couch.
You gonna go full Hubert on me right here? I don't know when I'm gonna call on you, but I'm gonna call on you. You got to be ready.
I don't know when your time's coming, but it's coming. And give credit to Jordan Hall. I mean, he literally goes from sweats to your left tackle against a Syracuse team who had some defensive linemen, especially on the edge, that were solid, and he played well with it. So I think that is, this whole thing, sure, North Carolina beat a bad Syracuse team. North Carolina's 3-5. The people that want to be negative are going to be negative.
Yeah.
But what you see here is guys being ready, guys going from sweatpants to making plays. And that is a testament not only to the staff, but also to the players themselves having buy-in, belief, and staying ready.
Preparing as a starter.
There you go.
We talked about this before we came on the air, Tommy. You might have been on biscuit number 3, but Searcy made the comment that North Carolina was communicating a lot better on defense. We'll talk about this with Staples in the next segment too. But Tommy, you and I have seen some bad defenses at North Carolina.
We saw bad defenses
this year. Yes, weeks ago.
Yes.
Searcy, can you explain to us that, kind of help us understand why good defense isn't always flashy, but it does matter to have that communication, to have that, to use your phrase that you like, that you're 111.
Right.
Explain to people why good defense isn't always something that's showing up as strip sacks, though North Carolina's getting some of those.
Right.
It's showing up as competency and maybe a lack of big plays is how you recognize a good defense.
Right. It's based off trust. You're not worrying about doing too much. You're just worried about doing your job. If I can trust that the other guys on the team know what they have to do and they can get the job done, it makes my job easy. Then I just worry about handling my responsibilities on this play, each play. So, again, I keep reverting back to the new guys on the team having to work together. It's the trust. Like, if I got to cover an over route and the safety says he's going to cut the over route, I got to trust and believe. But coming from other teams, they may hesitate a little bit. So that frees up a big play for the offense and whatnot. But knowing that my guy's going to be there every play, like no matter what the play is called, it releases you. You know what I'm saying? Like now I just focus on what I have to do for that one play to get my job done, to help the team get a stop on that situation. We may look around and get look up and get a turnover. So I mean, it makes all great for the situation as a whole as a team.
Spencer, you said and your nemesis, the number one hair in IC,
we are all
the
the
IC staff is here.
Look like the same guy to
They
me.
do like the same guy. Again, I called him Evan earlier this year, and here comes Evan. Now I finally see them both in the same place.
I'm the number one hair.
Spencer, do you have a sense? And you mentioned Kamori House earlier. Do you have a sense for who actually is stepping into these vocal leader roles that maybe we didn't even know about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely seems that both the linebackers on this team are clearly, as they're the captains of any defense, but it definitely seems Andrew Simpson's playing his 5th year of college football. He's played in the college football playoff. He is 100% one of the vocal leaders on this team. Another guy that's been here for a while and we've seen and we know is a good leader and a good voice in the locker room, and all the guys talk about is Will Hardy.
Yeah.
And he's kind of showing his leadership both on and off the field.
Georgia boy.
He's been real impressive.
Search is so quick to call out his crib. I love it.
They're different, though. He's right.
That's not that.
Georgia boys are different.
There's a certain level of competition from Georgia that
right.
It's you can find a 3-star kid in Georgia and make him a starter at just about any P5 conference.
That depth is the talent pool down there is on another level. Oh, and then another guy that I would be remiss to not talk about, even though he hasn't been on the field these last couple of weeks, would be Thad Dixon. I think he's
still involved. Like you watch him on the sidelines,
right.
He's very much in players' faces.
Right, and I'm glad we can talk about this because we had Jaden Patterson spoke on Thursday.
Yep.
The another Georgia boy, DeCula from recruited as a safety out of high school, came to North Carolina to play safety, and all of a sudden Thad Dixon goes down, and you've got Jaden Patterson lining up as the boundary corner.
Yep, and that hasn't been a great drop off against some good quarterbacks. It's not last week, but
right. He's been great, and he credited a lot of his success on Thursday to the leadership and the coaching that Thad Dixon's been giving him on the sidelines and practice throughout the week, and I definitely think it warrants some more normal work in the rotation, even when Dixon comes back, which we're hearing could be pretty soon.
All right, so we got to wrap this up. We're going to get to our next segment, talk a little bit with Jason Staples for a little bit of film breakdown, and he's going to tell you what the tape says about Carolina's improvement. Tommy Ashley is going to bail and go do tailgate things. Grace Nugent's going to join us. Da'Norris Searcy is going to still be here. Spencer's still going to be here. Evan is retired. He just big-timed us right in front of all these people. But we'll be right back on Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
I'm Ryan Switzer, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live.
This is Jeff Denny with Generator Supercenter of the Triangle. We are the #1 Generac residential installer in North America. I really stress with the customers that we are looking to be their generator partner for the next 10, 15, 20 years for their ownership of having a generator. We want to make sure they can rely on us that generator is ready to run and on go when they need it. Go to GeneratorSupercenterOfTheTriangle.com. That's GeneratorSupercenterOfTheTriangle.com.
Rally House, shop every team in town, college and pro, come on, it's time to go.
The season starts at Rally House. From jerseys and hats to tumblers for game day, it's where outrageous selection meets every fan's style.
Carolina Pride, we bring the heat from the Dean Dome floor to Franklin Street.
Rally House, it's your city, it's your house, it's the Rally House.
Level up your fandom in-store or online at rallyhouse.com.
Now listen here, folks. This is Deputy Barney Fife, keeping order and keeping an eye on things. You can't just stuff your money under a mattress and call it a plan. You need structure, you need discipline, and most importantly, you need John Stillman over at Rosewood Wealth Management. He'll keep your finances in line so tight even I couldn't find something wrong with them. And believe me, I'd look.
Barney Fife is not a real person and wasn't compensated for this endorsement. However, Carolina Wealth Stewards doing business as Rosewood Wealth Management is a real registered investment advisor with the state of North Carolina.
Rams Corner is the hottest place to catch the heels. NFL, NBA, and international soccer on the biggest TVs in town. Enjoy an affordable menu with starters, soups and salads, seafood, veggie dishes, tacos, and burgers, hot off the grill. All freshly made from $7 to $21. Nothing matches it. Dine and drink on the front patio, the longest bar in town, or a party table for up to 12. Rams Corner is at 431 West Franklin. On the corner, make it your place for food, fun, and games.
Hey, Tar Heel parents, Adam Bishop, senior pastor at New Hope Church, and we've recently updated and renovated our entire children's ministry space with your baby, preschooler, and elementary student in mind. We would love for them to get to experience these new fun environments where they'll grow in their faith and make some new friends this Sunday. Services are available at both 9 and 11 a.m. Check out newhopechurch.org for more information. We can't wait to see you this Sunday, and God bless our Tar Heels.
Inside Carolina, the place for Tar Heel sports, discussion, analysis, and breaking news, has moved to a new home, the On3 Network, offering the same great coverage of Carolina sports with exclusive recruiting information, in-depth team analysis, and insightful podcasts. You can still find us at InsideCarolina.com, but you will need to reactivate your subscription as they don't transfer to our new home. You can do so today for $1. Make your game day begin and end with InsideCarolina.com.
You ever see that stuff that be cold, guys, you can't sit?
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Inside Carolina Live, coming back from the break with you. Bottom of hour one, Tar Heels home. They have come home. And people are so excited they actually named it Homecoming. Play in Stanford today at Keenan Stadium. Kickoff about 4:30 on the CW. I'm sure it's going to be right after a good cliffhanger of Gilmore Girls. But to talk a little ball, Jason Staples, you all know him. He does his fabulous, amazing film work for IC during the week. And he actually had a little more of a crescendo of positivity to talk about this past week, looking at North Carolina finally starting to pop some explosive plays and finally starting to find itself on offense. And so, Jason, I'll start there. Offensive rhythm. I'm seeing a team that's got a little bit better sequencing over the last couple of weeks. They're wasting a lot less downs. What are you seeing as you look at the entire tape of a fully called offensive game plan?
You know, the biggest thing is that I think there are fewer. There was a point this season where we talked about this, that it was like every play there was somebody that made some mistake somewhere, and it wasn't always the same guy. We talked about it as like a conspiracy almost, where somebody somewhere at some point is just going to make a mistake. And I think the biggest thing is that we're seeing fewer of those. We're seeing less in the way of those kinds of mistakes that are just costing that are just causing really bad negative plays over and over again. So some of it's just a little bit of consistency. Some of it, though, in all honesty, is that they've just played worse defenses the last couple of weeks too, which also helps. But I think that's the biggest factor, though, is the combination of they played worse defenses personnel wise. They've gotten more consistent as a whole, and I do think the offensive line has sort of hit its stride a little bit. Partly because they're playing against defensive lines and defensive fronts that are not, orders of magnitude better player for player, but also some of these guys are figuring some things out. So, yeah.
When you see guys starting to figure things out, is that because they've gotten more familiar with Freddie Kitchens' playbook? Is that just the staff finally leaning on guys enough to say, hey, he who reps it right, reps it on game day? What do you think is causing it to where they're minimizing these mistakes? Because as you've said, it's showing up a lot better on the scoreboard recently.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, again, you just have to focus on the process all the way. You just can't worry about the outcomes so much. You just keep doing the right thing. You do your job, and eventually the scoreboard takes care of itself. I think that's as simple as it gets. And I mean, that's coach speak, but it's true.
How do you get guys, and I know it's a lot easier now they're starting to have some success with it. How do you get guys at age 19 through 22 or 3 to buy in without the results, because we're starting to see, I think the results are going to make that a little easier. How do you feel like they've gotten guys to stick around thus far to where they're now seeing some fruit be born?
I don't know. I mean, some of it is just players do or don't buy in. Sometimes it's just a matter of coaches are able to persuade them through force of personality. Sometimes it's just a matter of, certain intangibles like that. But I think the biggest thing normally is just a little bit of proof of concept. When you do something right and you see it work, and so much of coaching is just basically picking out those plays and being like, you see right here, see you did it right, see what happened, see what happens when you do that right. Now let's get consistent. Let's practice that. If guys buy into that and they recognize, okay, yeah, this is where I'm screwing it up and this is where it gets right, then sometimes you get enough guys that do it and they start doing it right, and now you start to see guys turn the corner. The other thing is just, if you've got leadership on your team in terms of guys in the locker room who are going to hold each other accountable, then even when things aren't going right, you're going to get guys essentially highlighting, okay, this is why we're not getting this right. Let's do this right. Like, bro, you gotta get this right. That's how that goes. And if you don't have leadership, it never happens, but you've got to have a combination of sort of all of the above there.
Flipping over to the defensive side of the ball a little bit, man, it's just it's getting better. And caveating that Syracuse was basically trotting you and I out there on offense last week, and it was painful to watch that young man try to complete a pass. But that being said, there's still guys on scholarship too, and I saw a North Carolina defense that continued to control the pace, dictate tempo. But they're also really starting to control gaps at a high level. How do you think they might be able to expand on that? Or is that just a building block that once it's there, now let's start throwing some more ingredients into the stew?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to focus on what you do well. You don't want to add too many ingredients until you're getting the basics right. I mean, it's just like in the kitchen. You start adding too many ingredients before you really know what they do, and before you've got the initial mix right, and it can go really badly. So I think you just start with that. And the other thing is, again, what you're playing this week is a lot like last week, in that you should be able to beat this team with your base stuff without adding a bunch of ingredients. So again, focus on that, and you emphasize that to those players, and you say, look, we shouldn't have to do anything other than our base stuff to beat this team. Let's be honest. Do your job, play with great intensity, be assignment sound, and we're better than these guys. Simple as that.
Talking with Jason Staples here on Inside Carolina Live. Doc, I know one of the things that Stanford doesn't do well is protect the quarterback. I'm seeing a Tar Heel defensive line that is really starting to come into its own in getting pressure with sometimes just 4. And as a matter of fact, most of the time they're getting pressure with just 4. Is that something else that they can kind of be excited about and continue to build on and use that to build momentum during the course of a game, or even during the course of needing to stop the other team's momentum?
Well, I mean, this has been the big surprise, I would say, of the season above everything else. I mean, when we came into the season, what we kept saying was, look, unless one of the freshmen, unless one of the guys that we haven't had a chance to evaluate really steps up, they're probably one guy short up front, especially at the defensive tackle spot, from being the kind of disruptive defensive line that you need to have any chance. And, Leroy Jackson stepped in there and actually became that missing guy. I mean, I think he's been a real revelation this year, and he's a guy that's going to be around a while. And now he's going to be expensive, I think, for the future. But he's a guy that came in and has continued to grow, continued to be a good player in that rotation. And now you're starting to see, as they're able to rotate those guys, some of these guys have really stepped in and become difficult to block. Abujade has become what we thought he might be by the end of the year. It was just a matter of settling in and getting up to speed. And I think everybody else has sort of been what we thought they would be. But what we weren't sure about was how much growth would there be during the season. And I think we've seen the payoffs of really good coaching on the defensive line from Bob Diaco and from the whole defensive staff to see those guys really grow. And like you said, they've become disruptive. They've become a team where they have a pass rush. They don't just have a pass rush. They're actually being disruptive in the run game. They're occupying blockers.
It's not something there where they're having to go crazy and scheme things up.
No, they did a good job of bringing some bigger bodies, some guys with some mass on the defensive line who have, some of the traits that you want, and then just working really hard at getting those guys to play with a really low pad level and play hard and to, come off the ball correctly with good first and second steps to be able to deliver power into the guy trying to block you. I mean, just a lot of those fundamentals, they've done a great job with that. And you can see that and week over week, there's been growth. And yes, again, some of this is that the quality of competition has decreased from some of the teams that you played up front early in the year. But I mean, UCF is not a world beater, and they went out there and they got whipped by UCF.
Punked comes to mind.
Yeah, they got punked, and then over time they've started to figure some things out. Now, again, Syracuse, probably of the Power 4 teams you played this year, the worst team up front. Stanford is not a whole lot better than Syracuse in terms of up front. So you should expect another game where you can potentially win up front and take another step forward with your confidence and all that. And that only reinforces what you're doing in practice. You only get better by seeing that. It's sort of like in basketball. You see the ball go through the hoop and it really does something for you mentally. So I do think that's something that they can continue to build on. But yeah, I think we're seeing the benefits of this kind of attention to detail on the defensive line. Of course, it makes me wonder what would have happened with, some of the guys that they had on campus, your Jahvari Ritzies and Des Evanses of the world, 3 years ago, if they'd had Bob Diaco coaching them on the defensive front,
instead of somebody's friend. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you do wonder on the defensive line, what happens there and how different things look in Chapel Hill right now. If we'd seen this level of attention to detail on the fundamentals in terms of just your step has to be here. Your second step has to be with this level of power. Your hands go here, and there's no option to do it otherwise. Do it again. And your pad level has to be here. And they've really done a good job with that.
I think one of the things, that if somebody's watching North Carolina on film, and this is kind of in your wheelhouse, why I'm throwing it to you, seeing even if you don't know what gap integrity is, if you look at this North Carolina defensive front 4/7 and then compare last year, you just don't see a lot of defensive guys out of place making giant holes for the offense, which is what North Carolina couldn't do to get out of their own way last season on the defensive line.
Well, not just last season. We're talking about a month ago.
Fair, yes.
Right? I mean, that a month ago, they were out of place and out of position repeatedly and getting gashed. And, when we were looking at it, it's like, what is he doing there? Like, this is a mess. But there were, and, I, in some of the film sessions, started to say around the time of the Clemson game, we're starting to see some growth here on the defensive side. We're starting to see some of the things that you need to see in terms of the progression fundamentally, and in terms of where you're at in gap integrity in these things. We're starting to see those things. So, got to keep building on that. And then we saw more growth against Cal, and then we saw more growth against Syracuse. And, you're starting to see those guys be in the proper positions more often than not, and a lot more often than not. And like you said, I mean, not just last year. I mean, last year there were some problems there, but I mean, shoot, a month ago, this was This was a problem even then. So they've continued to progress in that area, and the accountability in that respect has gotten a lot better.
So continuing that arc or that trajectory that they're trying to build out and that they're working with, not only to improve this season, but to build for the program's future. Help everybody who's listening and watching understand how UNC can maintain their discipline on defense against a Stanford team that, from what I can tell, is pretty motion heavy on offense.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is to be disciplined with your eyes. So, you have certain keys in every play, in every formation, and you go over this over and over and over again in the film room. You go over this on the practice field. I mean, these days, college football, pro football, and all this, so much of practice basically boils down to scout team. All right, get in formation. All right, motion. What's our check? Check. All right. Okay, what do you have? Doing a lot of this stuff to make sure that everybody's going to be in the right spot where they're in 2x2 and all of a sudden they motion to tight bunch to the boundary and we're in cover 4. What's our check? What do we do? All right. And if we check to there, what do we have to slide the front? Yes, you slide the front there. Are we pressing the point man once it becomes a tight bunch? Okay, if we're pressing the point man, who's pressing it? You are. Are we communicating on who's got banjo responsibility? You're doing all of this for each thing, and if you're really motion heavy, and Frank Reich is running essentially an NFL offense out there in terms of how much they're running motion and all that. It's a pain to get ready for, but I mean, this is exactly what Belichick and that group were used to going against in the NFL. So all you have to do is just focus on, look, they go to this. Here's our check. Here's where your eyes go. That's the guy you watch. Don't pay attention to him. He's his guy. Get your eyes here. And it's all that eye candy that they're trying to trick your eyes. They're trying to get you to look in the wrong spot. The key is just keep your eyes in the right spot, do your job, and let your teammates do their jobs.
Yeah, don't fall for the cheese. Don't take the cheese when they throw it in front of you. We're talking with Jason Staples, Tar Heels hosting the Stanford Cardinal singular today for homecoming. Doc, last question. I know we've been fairly defense heavy, but there's just been a lot more to talk about with this group defensively. They've been doing a lot of this defensive stuff, still playing a lot of man, and doing it without arguably their best defensive player since Thad Dixon's been out. What have you seen from these guys that would help explain how they've been able to do this, independent of quality of opponent? Because they have seen some good quarterbacks, right? The quarterback from Cal and Chandler Morris of Virginia are good quarterbacks. North Carolina has seemingly been better in pass coverage without their best player, who is, by all accounts, a lockdown corner. How are they making this work?
Well, I mean, I don't think you can completely consider it independent of strength of opponent. I just don't, right? I mean, I think if you were playing TCU with those two wide receivers and that NFL quarterback, it makes it a whole lot harder than if you're playing against Syracuse last week with no NFL receivers and a walk-on quarterback who struggled to, complete passes to guys that were open. That you can't completely consider that, those independently. But the biggest difference that I'm noticing is that essentially the communication on the back end has been really good in the last couple weeks. And, they're playing match coverages a lot. And when you're matching, you have to make sure that the guys around you are also on the same page. And the benefit of when you're matching is that you do minimize the separation, you minimize the space that can be created in the passing game. So if you think about it in a standard zone, let's say you've got a mesh concept where you got two shallow crosses and you've got an over the ball route at about 10, 12 yards. There are a few different ways to work that. And let's say you got a 3 deep coverage where you got 4 under. There's going to be a gap in the middle of the field between the two inside defenders where that over the ball 10, 12 yard route is. If those guys just drop into space, the guy's going to be directly between them. And so if you're dropping to space and your eyes are on the quarterback can drop and then just throw right to the middle of the field because there's nobody there. right? Now you hope that maybe your guy responds quickly enough to close the distance and make contact or whatever. But if you're matching correctly, then you're recognizing, okay, I'm seeing two crossers. Now I got to find, there's almost always an OTB or a dig behind that. I got to get my eyes to wherever the receiver's most likely to be, who's coming to that. And I've got to be in that spot. One of these guys is going to be responsible to get to him. And now, instead of there being 4 yards of space on either side where the quarterback can just throw, there's a half a yard of space and he's just not open. And that's what I'm seeing better from this defense, is the ability to match and just do their assignments to force teams to actually execute. Because, I mean, in college, if you force college quarterbacks to actually have to throw guys open, to actually have to make good throws on a consistent basis, some guys are going to be able to do it, some guys aren't. But, I mean, I'm 43 years old, and there's a bunch of throws that I can make against the spot drop defense. If you're just going to give me 5 yards on either side of the receiver, I can still make that throw.
Yeah.
I'm just having to put it in a zip code, and it's a completion. I'm not having to overthink that. I'm not having to locate it. I'm not having to throw on time to make sure that that's going to be complete. You're not forcing me to execute more precisely. And I think that's really what they've done, is they've done a good job of forcing these college offenses that have had some weaknesses in recent weeks actually make plays to beat them. And, you know, Cal did make a couple plays. I mean, their quarterback located some of those throws, and there were a couple guys that were open, but he made some of those throws. And that's ultimately, that along with a couple fumbles, is why you lose that game.
Yeah.
But you forced him to make the throws. Against Syracuse, they forced him to make some throws, and he didn't come close.
Yeah.
Right? Now,
he's hitting guys in the feet. He's airmailing it 15 yards over the guy's head. Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. So that's not to say that there's no guys that are open. There have been players open, but they've been open by less. And I think that's really the biggest thing, is that you don't have, I mean, against TCU, there were a couple cases where you had guys who were wide donkey open, right? There's just nobody nobody within 5-10 yards of him. And we really haven't seen that in the last few weeks. We haven't seen it where there's a guy who's just there and there's no one in the picture. That's not happening. And, you know, that's the first step in being a good defense in the back end, is just making sure that there's somebody that's always nearby. just do that and force them to, you know, at least catch it and get tackled. You know, that's what they've been doing better. And I think that's the first step.
You have to have a partner to spot you when you're at the gym lifting the giant weights.
Yes, and if you do that, then then the day is yours.
Jason Staples, I love it, man. Thank you for making time for us here on this episode of Inside Carolina Live. Y'all, make sure you're seeing Jason's film breakdowns every week. I promise, if you watch them and read the accompanying pieces, you will learn ball. Jason, we'll talk to you soon, man.
Ha! The day is mine.
That's Jason Staples. We'll talk to you very, very soon. On the other side of this break, we'll be back talking a little bit more about how North Carolina can continue to keep up the standard that they built with this defense. You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
I'm Landon Turner, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill.
It's time for the Chapel Hill Tire Drive Happy Drive of the Game. In UNC's blowout win over Syracuse, the Hills were trailing after halftime when the defense forced a quick stop and the offense scored on a one-play 72-yard drive to take the lead for good.
Jordan Hall at left tackle and Ja'Kai Moore in at right tackle right now. So remember, Blasky was the starting center all last year for Carolina. As Lopez fakes a screen, now hits the tunnel screen to June. June out into the open. June down the far sideline, fights off a tackler. June's going to take it to the house. 10-5, touchdown, Carolina. Damon June all the way for Saints.
That was this week's Chapel Hill Tire Drive Happy Drive of the Game. Save $50 when you spend $150 or more on automotive services during football season at any of Chapel Hill Tire's 12 area locations. Use promo code DOTG25 when you schedule your appointment, and drive happy, Tar Heels.
I'm Jeremy Salemson with CIMG Residential Mortgage. At CIMG, we are so proud to be your local mortgage experts. At CIMG, we loan our own money, approve loans locally, and stay connected with our customers throughout the process. In short, we humanize the lending experience. Learn more at CIMGINC.com. CIMG, lending on a first-name basis. NMLS number 39460.
Hi, this is Ely from Alma's Jewelers. The flooding in Eastgate forced us to adjust, but I'm so happy to say we are back right here in our original Eastgate Crossing location. Our showroom is refreshed, sparkling, and ready to welcome you. Whether you're celebrating a milestone, shopping for something special, or just want to stop by and say hello, we are here. Thank you for supporting us throughout it all. Alma's Jewelers, proud to be part of this community, now open in Eastgate Crossing.
This is Jeff Denny with Generator Supercenter of the Triangle. We are the #1 Generac residential installer in North America. We have grown our footprint here in Chapel Hill and Durham and Carrboro. The purpose of having a generator is to have backup power when you need it, so it has to be ready at all times. We've had customers wanting a new generator, and then customers that already have a generator that want us to service it, maintain it, fix it. Go to GeneratorSuperCenterOfTheTriangle.com. That's GeneratorSuperCenterOfTheTriangle.com.
Rams Corner is the hottest place to catch the heels, NFL, NBA, and international soccer on the biggest TVs in town. Enjoy an affordable menu with starters, soups and salads, seafood, veggie dishes, tacos, and burgers, hot off the grill. All freshly made from $7 to $21. Nothing matches it. Dine and drink on the front patio, the longest bar in town, or a party table for up to 12. Rams Corner is at 431 West Franklin. On the corner, make it your place for food, fun, and games.
Hi, it's Jones Angel, voice of the Tar Heels, and you're listening to your flagship station for Tar Heel sports, 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, Chapel Hill.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Back for hour 2 of homecoming Saturday. Flags are flying out here. It does look really good when the wind's blowing. The flags are all stretched out. We have made a serious upgrade here in the break. We tossed Tommy Ashley to a tailgate near you and replaced him with Grace Nugent, which is not only an upgrade in talent, it reduces our mean age by like 30 years.
Oh yeah.
Which is
wow.
We're targeting different demos here, and we are so glad that Grace has joined us. You might know her from previous appearances on this show or her amazing UNC baseball coverage, but she's a utility player, and we're glad to have her. Sirs, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if we don't have our ish together, she will run circles around us.
She will?
Yeah. Spencer will too, but he's nice about it. Grace will literally like stare you right in the face as she's gutting you.
I will say
Lord
I
have
had the
mercy.
best score prediction for the Clemson game.
Yeah,
It was only 3 points off.
You predicted pain.
What did I say? I said 10 to 42, and what was it? 10 to 38.
A lot to a little bit.
There we go.
I don't know that I would brag about that.
That's
but
4 points, but
Okay, I was close.
her math isn't math.
not a math major.
No.
Listen, we've gotten through the first hour fairly well because I think it's. I will say, we were talking about this about the Coast to Coast podcast, which, by the way, if you're not, make sure you listen to the Coast to Coast every Sunday night now. We're in season. Sherelle, Sean Moran, and I will break down Carolina basketball, which I heard they had a win last night.
Yes, sir.
Apparently got a dub, as the kids say.
Got a good one.
But make sure you're joining that. But we've talked about the fact that it's so much more fun to cover a team that has some life. Bonus if they're winning, but right now this team definitely has some life. I want to ask, as we're looking towards this defense, building an edge, setting themselves up for success. They're going against an offense today, and let's throw it to Grace since she just jumped on. Grace, Stanford does not protect the quarterback very well. They are trotting a new quarterback out there today. The last time North Carolina saw a new quarterback, it did not go well for the opposing team.
Right.
Is there any reason to expect any different today? Or are you thinking that Melcard Abajaude and Smith Vilbert and Tyler Thompson are just going to eat again?
I think they're gonna eat, and they know what to expect when it's a new quarterback, and this is what Bill likes to do, to try to run circles and confuse, especially when you have a younger quarterback that's coming into an unknown territory. They have to fly all the way across the country, and then the best thing about this UNC team by far is the defense. and especially those defensive backs. And I believe UNC has the fifth best run defense in the conference. So they are set up for success on this metric. And I think last game too really did give this defense confidence and a little bit of pep to play with, to know that they can beat a team, they can beat a team away, and they can perform really well. And I think they're going to do the same thing.
They were buzzing in that fourth quarter. Spencer, I want to ask you, I mean, we've seen this secondary almost galvanize itself, which, look at it on paper, sans Thad Dixon, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
And I talked to Staples about it last segment, but you're starting to see a defense it's holding its own in each segment of the defense. How do you feel like that's come to pass? Is it discipline? Is it the fact that they've started to be a little more aggressive? Is it the fact that guys just are getting more reps in the system? What's making it so that they're looking so much more competent week to week?
I think there are a lot of layers to that, and I think it starts on the smallest level, as Da'Norris talks about, winning your 111 matchup. Having the trust in the guy next to you that he's going to do his job and he's going to win his matchup. And now, if you just go out there and you take care of business in your spot, then good things will happen as a whole. If you do your job, which I think they like to say around the facility a little bit. They've said it a couple times. But going on Grace's point, this defense is playing with a ton of confidence, and obviously last week there was the walk on lacrosse player playing quarterback, and obviously you would expect a good showing from the Carolina defense. But
can we pour one out for that kid?
Yeah, seriously. I mean,
that is what? Why?
That'll be.
Who did he piss off?
He had the flea flicker. He's going to tell the grandkids about the flea flicker completion one of these days. But even before that, after the Clemson game, you let a Clemson team walk into Kenan Stadium, coming off a bye, and put up 28 points on you in the fourth quarter, and then
kicked your dog and smacked your mama in the first quarter.
High L,
and then
took a high L that day.
And then in the weeks after that, you're playing a Virginia offense and a Cal offense that are regarded as two of the more explosive, better, passing offenses and scoring offenses in the league, and you hold those two teams to what, 38 combined points in a spot that I think a lot of people would just expect the defense to roll over and not want to keep showing up. Especially when there's the frustration on the offensive side of the ball. Walking off the field, I'm not going to say which Carolina player I was walking next to, but after the Virginia game, he seemed very audibly and emotionally upset. I'm not going to.
You kind of want to see that. Searcy, are you more excited when you see a guy walking off pissed off after a loss, or do you want to see him?
I want to see him pissed off after a loss, man.
Why does that matter?
Because it doesn't matter. It shows that you care. You're not just here just to be here.
Here's I'm gonna complete the circle, and I want you to elaborate here. When you got 70 new guys, you never know if you're going to have that buy-in.
Absolutely.
And now what I'm hearing Spencer say is he walked off with a dude that had that buy-in. So you tell me why that matters and what it can do for a team as the season progresses.
Right, like I said, it shows that the players on the team care. It shows that it means something to them. Then being able to build that trust and be like, be able to grab the guys along and be like, look, man, we have something special. We have a Hall of Fame head coach. We have one of the top-rated coaching staffs in the nation. Like, we just got to buy in and be able to produce because these guys know what they're talking about. And like I said, it's hard with guys coming, 70 different guys coming from all different spots of the world coming together to play. It takes some time to gel. Yeah, they had spring, but how many guys came in the spring and then left after the spring? And then you had guys coming in during the summer, and you had incoming freshmen coming in during the summer, and they also came in January. So it takes a little time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of guys are worried about what they're getting in NIL and what they could do for their families. And now it's at a point now where the aspect should be focused on the team camaraderie and the team chemistry. Can I play beside this guy? Can I be able to trust this guy in critical situations? And they're starting to see it. Like, after the Clemson game, like, they played two high-powered offenses and they held them to a standard. So they seeing that the process works. Like, if we just listen and take film study to the highest level and be able to communicate with each other and being able to play with each other and be out there and just do your 111 to get the guys up front to get sacks, turnovers, and whatnot. So we just want to make it difficult for him as possible and being able to capitalize on his mistakes, because if this is his first live action, he hasn't seen too much. So we just want to be able to be in position to make plays when an opportunity is presented.
Do you think there's more of an aggressive idea in that mind? Like they're going to try to bully this quarterback more because the defense knows that they can?
I would for sure, because you want to establish dominance. You want to let them know it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a rough day. Yeah, this is going to be there. This is your first start. This is your first live action against a Power 5 conference. Even though you're at a Power 5 school, you have never seen nothing like this. So we want to be able to be aggressive, to be able to force them in bad situations, to get as many turnovers as possible.
And even before Carolina was, finally able to get over the proverbial hump last weekend at Syracuse, I mean, when you're you've played on good defenses, when the offensive side of the ball is struggling, like what is the energy like in the locker room? Like, is there a very obvious, elephant in the room? Maybe I guess a division you could
How
say?
many times you have to clothesline the offense when they were terrible?
Nothing like that. We knew by us practicing against them every day, we knew the capability they had. So, excuse me. So we would just always be like, we just make sure we keep holding up our end, so that when the offense starts clicking, there's no let off or anything, because a lot of us defensive players play special teams, so we knew defense and special team was handled. So we didn't ever want to be the reason if offense get to clicking, we didn't ever want to turn it to the weak link. So we just always want to stay positive and keep doing our job. And we always make sure we went out there and handled our business no matter what.
Is there anyone on defense that you think today especially is going to play a key role?
I always root for Caleb Coss.
Mm-hmm.
He used to be a two-way. He played
George-
baseball
yeah,
and football.
Now you understand why Searcy likes him.
Georgia boy.
He's a Georgia boy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Georgia boy.
So if Searcy is consistent, if nothing else, right?
Yes.
You know what you're going to get out of him
Absolutely.
when you set him up. You know he's going to take it to the house.
Absolutely. So yes, I always root for him.
His energy is fantastic.
Right.
Too.
He's a guy, like I said,
He's got a short memory, which is what you
two-sport
want
guy.
as a DB.
Absolutely. You must have short-term memory when you play DB. 'cause
Yeah.
You're the last line of defense 9 times out of 10, especially if it's a deep pass or a deep throw. So you always got to be able to shake it off. If they complete it, line up and play the next play. If you break it up, you still got to line up and play the next play, because they may come at you again and then it could be a completion. So you always got to be on your P's and Q's playing defensive back.
All right, I want to brag on this squad for a minute. We lost power on the YouTube channel. We stayed on the radio, but we lost power on the YouTube channel. And I want to point out that these three, two of them who are interns, not even full-time staff, absolutely carried this while we troubleshot the power issue. So I want to give a special shout out to Spencer and Grace and Serge for making that happen. All right, we're going to take another break.
Absolutely.
When we get right back, we're going to talk about what Carolina has to do to make this homecoming one to remember, and how to turn this little spark into a full-on run of games.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back on Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
This is George Lynch, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live at 97.9 The Hill.
I'm Jeremy Salomson with CIMG Residential Mortgage. There are optimistic signs and trends in housing these days, so you may be asking, is this the right time to buy or sell, and what can I afford? Well, we're here to help you buy or refinance your home with an experienced team, creative solutions, personalized service, and efficient systems. Contact us at CIMGINC.com and see firsthand the advantages of lending on a first-name basis. NMLS number 39460.
Here's Will Johnson, founder of the Will Johnson Building Company.
Working with clients always has to do with budget. We try to hit that head on. We try to help clients understand the budget and how to achieve what they want. So that's a very challenging part and exciting part, how our team comes together, looks for solutions, and tries to find a happy medium there.
Go to WillJohnsonBuildingCompany.com and see for yourself.
I'm Kathy Hagman with Coldwell Banker, Howard Perry, and Walston. I love this area. I love helping other people make it home. I don't believe in transactional real estate where you throw the manual and keys over the fence and you roar off down the road. My clients are clients for life, and they know it, and I provide a lot of useful information on a regular basis. So if you have any questions, whether you're buying or selling, call me at 919-937-7104.
You know, everybody says, George, you need a retirement plan. A plan? I can't even plan dinner. I'm supposed to plan the rest of my life? But then I heard about this guy, John Stillman, Rosewood Wealth Management. The man actually likes planning. He enjoys it. He sits there calmly explaining things while I'm sweating through my shirt. It's incredible. So yeah, talk to John Stillman. He can't fix your love life, but he might fix your retirement.
George Costanza is not a real person and wasn't compensated for this endorsement. However, Carolina Wealth Stewards doing business as Rosewood Wealth Management is a real registered investment advisor with the state of North Carolina.
Rally House, shop every team in town. College and pro, come on, it's time to go.
The season starts at Rally House. From jerseys and hats to tumblers for game day, it's where outrageous selection meets every fan's style.
Carolina Pride, we bring the heat from the Dean Dome floor to Franklin Street.
Rally House, it's your city, it's your house, it's the Rally House.
Level up your fandom in-store or online at rallyhouse.com.
Rams Corner on 431 West Franklin has wall-to-wall screens, so you never miss a play. Daily specials on food and drinks, local spirits with a Chapel Hill twist. A space for everyone, students, alumni, locals, and visitors. Enjoy more than good food and good drinks. Create memories from last-minute victories to late-night laughs, where the community comes together and where every day feels like game day. Come for the food, stay for the energy, and leave as part of the Rams Corner family. 431 West Franklin Street.
Got to get back. I need some.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill WCHO, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Pay it back. Again. I'm mad. Get down with my girlfriend. That ain't right. Wow.
Inside Carolina Live. We back. I think the video might have jacked up on the old YouTube screen there, but either way, we're here. The big payback. I don't know. There's payback coming for. I don't know. There's necessarily any payback coming for
Not for Stanford. Yeah.
But somebody's getting some payback.
Absolutely.
James Brown said there's going to be some payback. There needs to be some payback.
The big payback.
Da'Norris Searcy. I'm Joey Powell. Grace Nugent has shown up and shown out, and we're grateful for that.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Guys, we've literally got what I think is some momentum. And it was nice to talk about before the Syracuse win, but now you've actually got a win, which I think is the ultimate proof of concept. So what I want to talk to you guys about. How can they continue to do the things that they need to do to be an evolving product, to be a growing product, to be getting into the growth mode and the trajectory of program building that this staff wants?
I would say take the last 3 games. Like I said, Cal and Virginia, and now we're going into Stanford. Just keep building. Like you see the process works, the program works, the system works. Just got to keep buying in. Got to keep being able to like work together and trust the guy next to you. Because I can only speak for defense because it's always based on trust. Offense, one guy can miss an assignment and you can still score a touchdown. But defense, one guy can miss an assignment and we give up a touchdown. So
yards, the 2 yards